Matthew 5:14 says, "You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before men, that they may see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven." My wife was introduced to Way Down in the 90s, and she lost a lot of weight and had an incredible testimony through that process. But I really didn't know what was going on. But it was a 12-week class for her. And after it was done, she had lost her weight. The next 10 years went by, and as she said, she got rid of 60 or 70 pounds of weight, but then picked up many other idols. And I had never learned how to lay down any idols during that process. And our lives were almost ruined as a result of that. I was reminiscing just about, people who have good fortune, and I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, I don't pay much attention to it, but the lottery had gotten up to I think it was like $800 million. It was close to $1 billion, and I think a couple people won it, and they got $300 or $400 million each, and I was just thinking, they probably looked back at the day that they bought that ticket and saw that they had the winning lot, the winning numbers, and with excitement, and they can't, with disbelief of their good fortune, and as much as they probably are look back at that, it pales in comparison to how I look back at the day that I was introduced to this message and this church and what's taught here, and how it has changed our lives. I wouldn't trade what we have today for $300 million or $1 billion or anything else that this world could offer. 10 years ago, my wife and I were literally sitting in an attorney's office deciding who was going to get what, because we were on the path of divorce. Today, I have a marriage that I can't remember the last time we had an argument or a crossword towards each other or anything other than falling more and more in love with each other every single day, more in love than we were the day before. I have kids that are, I have two teenage kids right now, 16 and 18, and it's interesting, in the world you go in, people ask you about your kids, and you tell them you have a 16 and an 18-year-old. Their immediate response is something like, "Don't worry, you'll get through it." They'll get past it, and I don't relate to it. It doesn't make any sense to me, because I've got kids that have learned, because of being here, how to be under authority and how to lay their will down, and to be a delight to their parents, and to be a delight to the people that are around. And as you look across all the kids that are here going after it, that's what we have for kids. We don't have what the rest of the world has. In 2009, just backing up a little bit, and what gave us, just kind of reflecting on our lottery ticket that we won, I had a business, and in 2008, of course, everything contracted in the economy, and in 2009, we'd actually gotten rid of our house, and we were renting a house, and the house that we were renting got foreclosed on, and so we made a decision to just throw everything in the storage real quick and go on a road trip. And Tiffany had been asking me for years, because 10 years after she had lost her weight, we had two more kids, and she'd gained her weight back, and then she'd found Way Down again and lost her weight again, and she had heard that Gwen had either had a church or went to a church, and so she'd wanted to visit it. She said it was in Nashville, and for 2 years she tried to get me to come visit it. And I lived in Texas, and there's a church on every corner. And so it didn't make any sense at all for me to, why are we going to drive to Nashville just to go see another church? And but when we decided to do this road trip, her birthday was coming up, and she said, all I want for my birthday is for us to make sure that we show up in Nashville to visit this church, because it fell out on Wednesday night. And so I agreed to do it, and we came here, and through that visit, and then we came back 2 weeks later, we saw this light that is on a hill, and it was undeniable. And we went back and I went through the I think the normal process that a lot of men go through of is this for real, and really searching it out and really getting unbrainwashed from the false messages that I had grown up with. And I just remember coming to a point as my wife and Lacey, my oldest daughter, had dived into this head first of just realizing that okay, I need to wash everything from my mind, that anything that I thought I knew, I need to get rid of, just start over. And as I began to listen to what was being taught by Gwen, it was so obviously the truth. And some of the scriptures that she talked about, Hebrews 10:26, and the things that really brought us into repentance and made us realize that we could not continue to deliberately sin, I'd heard some of those, but I had never seen it lived out. And that's what had made this place different. Was when I came here, there was a leader who had a relationship with God her entire life, that had learned how to go to his scriptures and then simply do what they said, and then that made a connection, and then she decided to turn around and teach it to us. And that's what I saw when I came. And I just remember as we were making some decisions about whether or not to come here, my business was at a point where what made sense, according to worldly wisdom and business wisdom, would be for me to go out to California where my business was and where it was collapsing and go save it. That's what I should have done according to the world. And I just remember sitting down with Tiffany, and we'd been in business for about 20 years, saying, I don't care what happens to our business. We're going to Nashville, and we had rented an apartment over there to Landings, and just because of the financial situation I'd gotten myself into through sin, walking away from my business really didn't make sense. And I just remember saying, listen, if we do this could be like where we live forever, and we might, you and I might need to go get jobs at McDonald's. And I just remember the decision was, it wasn't even a decision. It was just like, obviously that's what we're going to do because of what we saw here. I just remember the teaching that Gwen, that I ran with right away was, she said, this isn't the drip method. When you see something, you just go for it, change it immediately, and that's what we've been trying to do ever since. Is just, I don't want to linger in any sin. I don't want to linger in some place that God doesn't want me to be. And I knew for a fact that this is where God wanted us, and so we made that change, and we went on, and sure enough, God, and how he delivers back to you, just turned our business around. And what was cool about it was there was a lot of areas of my business that I had built that I would have had pride about and praise man. And then there was this one little piece that I had nothing to do with. It was like accidentally came into my business. I had nothing to do with it. I did nothing to train this piece of it. And everything that I had built did crumble and collapse. And the one piece that I had nothing to do with, absolutely, God just took. I moved here, and he just exploded it and built. He allowed it to crash, and then he said, "I'm going to rebuild it, but it's not going to be you. You're going to know very clearly that anything you have, anything that you're allowed to do is because of me." And he's been so generous to take someone that, because of my background and because of the worldly ideas of success in business that created pride and praise of man and thinking that I had anything to do with any of it, and just in such a sweet way gave it back, but gave it back in a way that would eliminate any of those thoughts. I am beyond thankful. And I know she hates to hear her name mentioned, and we only mention Gwen's name because of her willingness to obey God and to teach us how to obey God. And it kills me when I hear people say negative stuff or accuse her of being something that she's not. And she just simply takes the revelations that God gave 2,000 years ago, or obviously before that too, and just decided to live it out. and her teaching us how to do that has created a life. And I'm excited about the growth of this church. I'm excited about the home churches that are popping up all over the world, and I'm excited about the direction and the vision that God has given, Gwen and even Michael, and as he talks about 1 billion strong. Who knows what God's going to do, but I know that as a result of the light that each and every one of you guys are being, people are being attracted to this like never before, and I'm so excited to see what God's going to do in the future.